Hey VC, this is Chris. I thought I'd get on here and do a video since not much is going on other than staying home and trying to keep away from everybody. So this started with Mazzy, I guess, gave me the idea since he'd been doing all his whack-a-moles. So this is a response to that, I guess primarily due to his whack-a-mole contest, which I didn't enter, but I would try to do something in the vein of whack-a-mole, and I got the idea for that from Andrew at Tales from the Crate, where he used Discogs, a random picker, to select some things, and then he talked about them. So I did a Whack-a-Discogs version of this, so it selected 5 albums. I'll show those in a moment. But to start with, there's some VCLT. In my last video there was an addendum which I showed Ella Fitzgerald, that album that I had received from Norman Mazzy. He also included, well, it all started because he showed, in one of his videos, he showed this Chipmunks Sing the Beatles. He had a cover of this, didn't have the album, and I had the album but no cover. So I contacted him about if I could buy this or something, and he said, no, I'll just send it to you, which is very nice. So he sent me Alvin and the Chipmunks doing the Beatles on Liberty. So there's the beat up vinyl that I had of this thing from, mid-60s. Anyway, so he sent me that, and then he included a couple of other things with it. One of them was that Ella Fitzgerald. To go along with the Chipmunks, my other Chipmunks album, Chipmunk Punk, where they cover a lot of 80s type songs, or late 70s, but a lot of it's things like My Sharona. So the Knack constitute Chipmunk Punk. So one of the things he sent me, he had a good insight into my collection, or the holes are so very big that it's easy to pick things out. But he sent me this Camper von Beethoven album on Independent Projects record. This top loader. There's the label. And I say, good picks for my collection. I had that album, but I had it in the form of this cassette. Didn't have a vinyl, didn't have a CD. Just had a cassette of Camper van Beethoven. So that was nice to get a vinyl version of that. And then the other thing he sent me was this folk album by the English or UK guitarist Bert Jansch, Moonshine. So I have some Bert Jansch albums, but did not have Moonshine, other than I had it on digitally. But now I have an album. This one is was on the Earth label. So again, I don't know how he managed to make such good selections, but or maybe it was very easy. So that was good. So some Bert Jansch albums, just to prove that I have some. Here's Bert Jansch Conundrum. Bert Jansch, a rare conundrum. This is on Kicking Mule. So was the other one. Bert and John, Stepping Stones. On the Vanguard label, 1968. Another Bert and John. On Transatlantic, originally recorded in '66. Bert Jansch Sampler on Transatlantic, and Birthday Blues also on Transatlantic. So that was really nice to get that album to help fill out things. So now on to the Whack-a-Discogs. So I randomly selected, or Discogs for me randomly selected 5 albums. So one thing I noticed about these albums, they all are kind of tightly grouped. They range from 1967 to 1973. So kind of gives you a median of 1970. And the first one I'll show is the latest, 1973, Amazing Blondell. And they are playing in the background, so we'll see how that goes. And if you just hear or if you just see me with my mouth moving and no sounds, then maybe it got blocked. But so Amazing Blondell, the album is called Blondell. So they're sort of a folky, acoustic, I wouldn't ever call them prog, I guess, but mostly acoustic folk type stuff. Use some medieval instruments early on. This one just sounds like standard instrumentation. This is on Island label. Okay, that was number 1. Number 2, Sete, Brazilian guitarist. This is at Monterey Jazz Festival, 1967. So this is the other extreme of the 5 albums selected for me. On the Verve label. So here he's not performing solo as the ones that I've been mostly interested in. There's the Verve, but he's in a trio, guitar, bass, and drums. 1967. This was recorded at the September 1966 Monterey Jazz Festival. So one thing I have to say for Discogs, this was a pretty nice assortment or variety of albums that they selected. Probably better than I would have done on my own. Beatles. Caveat on what I said about all the albums were kind of grouped together. Beatles 6. This is a 1971 reissue of this Beatles album on the Apple label. So some sort of classic rocker type things from the Beatles. Kansas City, 8 Days a Week, Dizzy Miss Lizzy, And then the fifth of this Whack-a-Discogs, a classical selection. Adrian Ruiz plays Nails Gade and Christian Sindig. So this is a solo piano album on the Genesis label. Oh wait a minute, there's one other album that I don't see out here. This is only number 4. So there's the Genesis label. So solo piano, Niels Gade was 1817 to 1890, and Christian Sindig 1856 to 1941. So some classical music there, and let me see if I can find the missing 5th album. Alright, found it. Number 5. Porter Wagner, Simple as I Am, on RCA Victor from 1971. So there's Porter Wagner. A little bit of country to round this out. Country, classical, folk. This is a I think it's a UK edition of this. Well, the reason I didn't have that here was that I've been going through cataloging all my records and entering them in Discogs. So that one I had, I pulled it out for this video, and then I noticed that this glue had given out on the jacket, so it was flapping in the breeze. So I was gluing it, letting it dry. That was a side benefit of discogging or cataloging things. I got to go through and find stickers on albums to pull off, and repair split seams or re-glue things. So replace sleeves or plastic sleeves. So it's all been for the betterment of my record collection. So there's my Discogs, Whack-a-Discogs version of Whack-a-Mole. So thanks everybody, and stay away from people in general. Seems to be the either it's the recommended or it's the mandated policy on things. So talk to you later.